When we deal with the issue of externalities, we're also fundamentally dealing with the issue of deadweight loss. And the reason that is because we are deviating from the socially efficient price and quantity. And anytime we deviate from the socially efficient price and quantity, then we have deadweight losses, meaning that society has lost some value. And when you think about it, over the course of the unit thus far, as we've discussed positive and negative externalities, that's exactly what we've been getting into, is value that's gained or lost by people despite any action on their part. So we want to just take a look at how we have deadweight losses when there are negative externalities, and then how we correct for those and so on. So actually we're going to start off with the positive externality side of this. And as you look at the positive externality side, this is pretty easy to do. We start off by saying, for either one of these problems, where is the socially efficient point? And that is going to be the intersection of supply and the marginal social benefit. So this is where society ought to be producing. And left unregulated, where would society produce? Well, unregulated, society is going to produce this quantity at this price. And so if we just go ahead and extend this all the way up, you can see that now society has failed to produce goods where the benefit is greater than the cost, or the marginal benefit is greater than the marginal cost. So really all of these units in between Q1 and the regulated quantity should have been produced because their value justifies the cost. So in an unregulated market, there is a deadweight loss when there's a positive externality. So in this case, because the positive externality led to a lower quantity being produced, then the difference between what was produced and what should have been produced by the market, by the socially efficient market, leaves us with this gap. So we would say that society is lost here when there's a positive externality that they haven't corrected because valuable goods are not being produced. Now let's look at this on the negative externality side. So same deal, we're going to deal with an unregulated market. And again, the socially efficient point where we ought to be is going to be the intersection of the marginal social cost and the demand curve. Because again, this is the full cost of the actions of the buyers and sellers. So when the market is unregulated, we are actually producing at this point. Now, if you ignore the original supply curve, you have to kind of like pretend like this isn't here for a minute. This is the point we should have produced up until, but yet we have come all the way out to this point. So we have gone on and produced a bunch of units that should not have been produced because their cost exceeds their benefit. So if we extend this line all the way up, we can see a deadweight loss here as well. This is the equivalent of units that were produced whose costs exceeded their benefit, but they were produced anyways because the market was unregulated and the costs weren't allocated directly to the buyer and seller of that good. So whenever we have an externality in a market, there are deadweight losses, and we can correct those deadweight losses via taxes and subsidies in getting the markets to produce at their socially efficient outcomes.